Alright, so in the last section what we did was we looked at the final product and we looked at the different parts of the site and the different blocks that we want to separate and style. And you'll see our HTML is all intact, along with all the div tags, the IDs, the spans, the classes. Everything looks good on this side of it. Now what we need to do is start doing some actual styling. Alright, so let's see what we have so far. This is our work in progress, and what it is, it's just the HTML we created along with a tiny bit of CSS styling. And if we go to our style sheet that we created, you'll see the body has some styling. It has text align to the left, font size of 13, the font is Arial, and we have this background image that we added, and we made it repeat X. We made it repeat horizontally. So that's this gradient blue that you see that is repeating horizontally. Now, one thing you might see that's new is this, and what this is it's a wildcard selector, and what it does is it applies whatever styles we put in here to everything on the page, everything in the entire page. And this is used a lot to zero margins out, or to just apply some real base styles. And what I've done is I've text align left, so everything on the page will always be text align left unless I specifically style that element to align right or whatever. And with the margin, I zeroed the margin out on the top and bottom, and what I did is I made it auto on the left and right. And what that will do, it'll put the element in the middle. Margin, if the margin is auto, then it's directly in the middle. It's auto on the left and the right. And it's kind of hard for me to explain. I don't know if I explained that right, but yeah. Anyway, let's just keep going here. So what I want to do now is look at the final product and figure out what we should do next. So let's go to the HTML, and you'll see after body we have this div. We have a div with an ID of container. Now this div wraps around the rest of the site. It wraps around this entire the entire layout of the site. So what we want to do with that, let's go to our project, and we want, remember, since it's an ID, it's not a class, then we start it with a hash or a pound sign. And as far as opening and closing curly braces, it's really preference. I like to do it like this. Some developers will start at the beginning brace on a new line. Some will actually put both braces on the same line. It's just, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just preference. So anyway, with the container div, what we want to do is give it a width of 960, which is going to be the total width of our site. And if we save it, reload, now you'll see there's no outline, but it is in fact 960 pixels. If you look at this text to where it ends, this is the 960 pixels. Now the reason it's in the middle here, no matter what, no matter how we stretch this browser, that div wrapper is in the middle, and the reason for that is this wildcard we used up here. It's positioning everything auto, every left and right margin as auto, which makes it in the middle, right center. So that's why it's doing that, which is what we want. Now I think that should be it for the container div at the moment. The next thing that I'd like to look at is, I usually start from top to bottom, so I like to look at the header. And we have, if we go to our HTML, we see our header div is right here. And in the header div we have an H1 and an H2. H1, H2. So let's go to that next. That was also an ID, so we want to do, whoop, we don't want to do that. So the header, we're going to do the same width of 960 pixels, And the height, we're going to do the height at 85 pixels. You can save that. Reload, and there's not much difference. You can't really tell anything yet. Okay, that's the header. Now I want to do the H1, which is the logo or the tagline, whatever you want to call it. And to get that, we can style this H1, but to get this H1, we don't want to just we don't want to just put H1 like this, because if we do this, anything we put in the middle is that's gonna define all H1s in the entire website. So we wanna zero in on that, and the way we do that is with the div that it's wrapped in, which is the header. So we can do this. We can do header H1. That way it'll only get the H1s within the header div. And let's see, what I want to do to that is make it white. Reload. Okay. Next thing I probably would want to do is I actually want to float it to the left. This isn't going to make it change now because it is on the left, but if we add other elements in the header, I just want to know that this is going to stick to the left. So, and the next thing I'd like to do is change the size of it. I want to do font size 43. Save. Okay. And you'll see it's kind of stuck to the top here. I want to add some padding to it, so I'm going to say padding. We'll do 20 pixels on top, 20 on top, nothing on the right, nothing on the bottom, and let's say 20 on the left. Save, and now you'll see it move down, and it's in the middle of the header div. This is exactly where I want it. So I think that should be it for now for the H1. Now we can do the H2, which is this, the Find a Developer Now text. And just like we did, we can use the header and then H2 to zero in on that particular element. So we'll do header H2. Oops, sorry, I don't know, I keep using those dollar signs. Keep thinking I'm in PHP. Alright, so the H2, what we want to do is float it right. Save that, reload, and now it's floated right. Now we definitely need to, first of all, let's change the color, because we can't see it. Okay, and now we want to add some padding. Let's do 40 pixels from the top, 20 pixels from the right, nothing from the bottom, nothing from the left. Save, reload. Alright, so that looks good. And I don't know if I explained this shorthand padding yet. You know, I'm just going to do a quick demonstration. You could do padding right 20 pixels. You could do something like that, or padding top or padding left, or you could just use the shorthand way of what I've done here and just use padding, and then this would be the top, this would be the right, this would be the bottom, and this would be the left. And that's much shorter than writing it all out as 4 separate lines, padding top, padding bottom. So that's what I'm doing here, just in case any of you didn't know what this is or what I'm doing. Alright, so let's see, let's look at the final. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to get this blue, we want to make that blue. And let's look at our HTML, and you'll see the blue here. It's wrapped in a span. It's wrapped in a span class called blue text. So I'm going to copy that class. And we want to zone in on that, so we'll do header h1 span dot. Remember, it's a class, so it's a dot blue text. Now, this line is zeroing in on this word, so we want to make that blue. So I'm just going to get the hexadecimal color. 1 second, let me just find what color that is. Where is it? Alright, here it is. So I'm going to do color, and that's the color. So save, reload. Oh, sorry, wrong site. Reload, and now it's blue. Now if we look at the other one, if we look at the H2, we'll see this is a different kind of blue. It's a light blue. So let's look in our HTML, and we actually have a span of white text around just the now. So the base color shouldn't be white. The base color should be this blue. So I want to change this header H2. I want to change this to 1 second. I want to change that to this color. Now save and reload. Now the whole thing is that light blue. Now I want the now text to be white. So let's get that by saying header. I don't know why I keep doing the money signs tonight. Header H2 span dot white text, and that should be white. Save, reload. Alright, so now we got our header. Yep, header looks good. So the next thing we have, if we look at the final product, we have the navigation, and the navigation is just a set of links of lists. It's a div ID menu, and then it's an unordered list with 4 list elements. So we have that right here, you can see. And what we need to do is we need to style it. We need to get rid of these points, these bullet points. We need to get rid of the underline links. We need to change the color to white, and we also need to float the list elements so that they go in a horizontal fashion. So let's take a look at this. We have an ID of menu, so let's go to our style sheet and let's say menu. Now the menu itself, I don't believe we need any styles on. Actually, yeah, we do. Alright, so let's style the actual menu div. First of all, we're going to display a block. We don't want it inline with anything. And the next thing we want to do is float it left. I'm going to float this the div left, just like we did to the logo, just so everything's lined up on the left side. And the next thing we want to do is we want to clear both. Now what that does, let me see if I can explain this. If you look, this is what we're doing now. It's this menu div, and above that we have the H1 and the H2. Now remember, the H1 is floated left, and the H2 is floated right. Now we want this to clear. We want anything under that to clear. We don't want the list to float along with the H2. We don't want it to move, so we do a clear both. So that makes it so it starts over on on the left on a new line, and it has nothing to do with any other floats. So I mean, that's the best I can explain clear both. And next thing, we want to, you don't have to, but I just like to add a width of 960, just like the rest of the elements we've been working with. And the height is important. We want that to be 54 pixels, which is this blue part that we left out of the background image. And I think that's it. So let's save that. Now this is just the menu div. The words aren't going to change yet, so we can't even see any difference yet, but we will. So the next thing we want to do is we want to style the UL tag, the menu list. So we're going to say menu UL. Now for the UL, we want to get rid of these bullet points, so we're going to do list style none. Save that, reload. So now we don't have those points anymore. And we're going to take off the padding. I'm just going to do padding 0. Reload. Now you'll see it's all the way to the left. There's no padding. A lot of browsers will add 10 pixels padding to all the unordered lists, unless you specify not to in your style sheet. Okay, and now we want to do margin left auto. Another thing I like to do. And let's just do the width 960 to this as well. Now if I save, reload, not much different, because we're just styling in the UL, which is this entire thing. Now next we want to style the individual lines, the lists, the LI. So we want to do menu LI, and we also want to do list style none. I know that when we did it on the UL, I know it took the bullets away, but this is just because some browsers will still put the bullets unless you specify it here. And I don't want to do any padding here yet. And we want to display inline. Now remember, block level means it starts on a new line, and that's what they're doing right here. Each list, each LI tag is on a new line. Now we want to display this inline, so they should all flow against each other. So I'll save this, reload, and nothing. Oh, you know what? Never mind. We have to do this on the actual links, which we're doing next. So it's going to be menu LI A, because A is the link. So now we need to float left. So now we're looking at these as the links, because they're all links, they're all A tags, and we're going to float each one to the left. So save that, reload, and now you'll see they're in line and they're floated to the left. I know this coloring is really hard to see. I'm going to change this right now. Just change these links to white. Save. Alright, so now we can see it a little better. And we don't want the underlines, so we want to use the text decoration, and we want to set that to none. Save, reload. So now we have no more underlines. Let's see, what else should we do here? Let's text align center, and let's make the font size is obviously going to be bigger than this. Let's say 15 pixels. Save 15. Let's look at this. Alright, let's bold it. So to bold, we want to do font weight, bold, save. So now it's bold. So now, of course, we want to separate these. They're all running into each other as they are now. So what we want to do is we want to add some padding. And padding, we don't want any padding on the top. So that's top. The next is right. We want 10 pixels on the right. Nothing on the bottom. Now the left, we want 10 pixels. Save, reload. So now you can see it's taken shape. Now we just want to move these down. And I don't want to do it on the link level. I want to do it on the UL level. So let's say padding top 20 pixels. Save. Let's see that's too far. So let's try 15. When you first get into the CSS and HTML, there's a lot of trial and error. So be prepared for that. See, now that looks like it's too far up, so let's try 18. And there we go, that looks good to me. Yeah. Tiny bit difference from the original, but I'm just going on, you know, as I go. I'm programming as I go, so the next thing, we have the nav bar. Actually, let me just add a tiny bit more padding. Let's do 13 here. Save, reload. Alright, there we go. That's exact. Alright, so the header's done. Menu's done. Next thing we want to do is, I'd say the next thing we should do would be the left menu right here, which is this. So let me see. Let's just look at our HTML real quick. And it looks like it's a div ID called left menu. So if we go to our style sheet, underneath the main menu styles we just created, we want to add left menu. And we're going to pretty much do the same thing that we did with the other menu. We're going to design the core div as well as the unordered list and the links and so forth. So for the left menu div on its own, let's do a margin top of 15 pixels. Save, reload, and it just brings it down a bit. 1 second. Alright. Now the next thing we should do is the width, and the width of it is, I believe, 190 from here to here. So let's do that. Let's do a width 190 pixels. Save. So as you can see now, it's actually doing the auto margin, and we don't want that. So we want to float it to the left. Save. Now it's back to the left. Now the next thing we want to do, let's do the color. And the color is, 1 second. This is the color. Save, reload. Still looks really crappy, but we're getting there. Now I want to point out something. You'll see here we have these round borders. Now before CSS3 and before a lot of the new browsers were released, you actually had to use images to get the round corner effect. You'd have to create these divs on each corner and actually have a background image that was the same color as the background to have that effect, and that was just that was really horrible. And I'm so happy that CSS3 and the new browsers were able to do this much easier. And all we need to do, let's go back here, all we need to do is add the border radius property, and we'll say 10 pixels. Save. Now if you see these corners right here, now they're rounded, and that's just so much easier than using the background images that I used for seems like so many years. So that's that, and now we just want to add some padding. We want to do 15 on the top. I'd say 20 on the right, 5 on the bottom, 10 on the left. Save, reload, and there, we're getting there. Actually, I'm going to add, let's make the bottom 10. There we go. Alright, so that's it for the actual left menu div. Now we want to do the UL in the left menu div. And we want to do a list style none. We want to do, let's just do a padding. Let's zero out the padding. And I think that's it. Let's save that. Alright. Next thing we want to do is the, actually, you know what, I want to do the heading, this right here, this links, I want to do that, and that's an H3. I want to make that white, and I don't want any padding on that. Actually, yes, I do want padding. I want padding on the bottom only. And I want 8 pixels padding. And let's put a border bottom. We'll do white and solid and 2 pixels. Save that, reload. There's our, actually, let's make that a little bigger. Font size 16. Alright. Next thing we want to do is the list. Do that right here. So the LI, the lists are each individual line, each individual list item. And we want to do, again, let's just do the list style none just in case. And let's do some padding of 15 pixels. 15, 0, 8, 0. And let's do the border bottom. Border bottom 2 pixels. Dashed. Is it dashed? Yep. This is a dashed border. So dashed. We're gonna do white. Alright, so let's save that. Reload. Actually, we want the 1 pixel dashed. Alright, so now we need to do these links. So let's do left menu A. Alright, so actually we're going to do left menu A, and now I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can add more than one ID or class. Like we could have this, then we could have, say, menu A, you know, all the links in the menu up here, A. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the left menu A, the left menu links, as well as the left menu links visited. Now you can use this visited, which means links that the person has already clicked on. So sometimes in some browsers, if you don't include this right here, then the links that you've clicked on could actually be a different color than the links you haven't, which can get sloppy. So it's just good to attach that, to have that there, and I'm actually going to do that up here as well. So it's just a colon and then visited. Now you could also style hover links that are hovered too, like this. And we will get into that. Alright, so anyway, the left menu links, we obviously want to change the color. Change it. Whoop. My bad. Alright, there we go. And we want to take the text decoration to none. Get rid of those underlines. And let's bold it up. Font weight bold. Okay. Reload. It doesn't look as bold for some reason. Actually, let's bring the font size up. Let's bring it up to 14. I think it's at 13. There we go. There we go. Looking good. Alright, so that's our left menu, and you'll see here we have this kind of drifting over into our menu, but that's just, we gotta do some clearing and floating, and that'll all be fixed. So let's move on. Yeah, so pretty much what we have left is the two content divs. If we go to the finished page, we have this content 1 and this content 2 with the 4 developer divs inside, and that's pretty much it. If we go over to our HTML, you can see the left menu we just did, and then we have these two contents. So let's go to our style sheet and let's start on the content div. Now what do we need here? We have a few things in this content div. We have a heading, we have 2 more headings, we have 2 paragraphs, and we have this image. So what I'm going to do first is make the content display as block, so it's not in line with anything, which doesn't do anything at the moment. And I want to set a width. I want to make the content width 680 pixels. Okay, and I want to add a margin top of 15 pixels, which would be right here. This would be the margin. As I'm pretty sure I explained the difference between margin and padding, is this content's margin would be here to here, its padding would be here to the wherever in. 10 pixels padding would be 10 pixels inward. 10 pixels margin would be 10 pixels outward. So that's pretty much the best I can explain that. Alright, so let's save this, reload. Not much different. Let's float this to the left and save. Okay. What else we got here? Alright, so this is actually, these content divs are going to have a white background, so let's do that. Save. Whoop, sorry, that's the other site. Alright, so we're getting there. I mean, this is the final, and this is our project, and we're getting there. Slowly but surely. So what I want to do, I want to round these corners. Again, all we have to do is use the border radius CSS3 property, which is awesome. Reload, and now they're rounded. And I want to do that border. You'll see it that these have these thick blue borders. So let's do that. We're just gonna do border 6 pixels, solid, and let me get that blue color. There we go. Save, reload. There we go. Remember, this content is this applies to both of these. They're both contents. They both have an ID of content. So whatever happens to one happens to the other because they're the same element per se. Now I want to do a padding. You'll see it's all squished up against the edge. So we want a padding of 15 pixels. Yeah, that looks a little better. Now for the margin, the left menu is squished up against the content divs. We don't want that, so let's just do a margin left of 15 pixels. That should push that over. There we go. Definitely getting there. Let's see, what do I want to do next? I want to see what's up with this image. Let me just see in the HTML what this looks like. Alright, so we have the image. We went over this in the first chapter, how to insert images into an HTML document. And we have an image. It has a class of float. And the source of the image is in the images folder, and the name of it is web.jpg. So let's go to our structure, our file structure that we're doing here, and we have the CSS folder, we have the images folder with the background image in it from earlier, but we don't have that image, that web image. So I'm going to get that from the project files. And I suggest you do the same. So I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, now let's go back here and reload, and there's the image. Now if you look at the final, the image is floated next to the text. It's not on top of it. So we're going to get to that in a second. But now that we have the image, now what I want to do is format these headings. And the headings are H3s, I believe. The main heading is an H2, and these two are H3s. So let's style those. So we want content. Actually, you know what? 1 second. You know what? I'm not going to do content H3. I'm actually just going to style the H3s because we don't have any others that we need to style. So if it's going to be a core element like body, like, whoop, sorry about that, like body or anything like that that doesn't have an ID or a class, I like to keep it up at the top. So I'm just going to say for H3s, and this will be for all H3s, we're going to do a font size of 16 pixels. Now this will be for all H3s unless you specify a certain one, like how we specified this H2 to be in the header div. And I want the font weight to be bold. And what else? I want to add some padding. I want the top and bottom to be 10 pixels padding, but nothing on the left and right. And for the color, let me grab the color. Alright, so if I save this, these two H3s should be affected. And there we go. Okay, that looks good. Next thing I want, now we should float that image. Alright, so you'll see the image right here where we have the image. We gave it a class of float, and I did that because I want the image to be floated, but I don't want to actually, I wanted a way to reuse this if we need to, if we have other images that we want to be floated. So I just gave it a class of float, and I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to do float, and we want to float it to the right, and we don't want text to be squished up against it, so I'm going to give it a margin of 15 pixels, and I think that should do it. We save. Yeah, there we go. So this margin, I gave it the margin, otherwise this text would all be up against it and it would just look ugly. So let's compare. Looks good. Now next we have the second content div down here with the developer divs, which I'll show you here. You'll see we have div class developer, and it ends here. Then we have another one ends here. So there's 4 developer divs. Let's see. Actually, what did I label it? Just trying to figure one thing out. Alright, so let's take the developer class. Now this here would apply to all 4 of these, all these developers and their locations and so on. We're gonna give them a width, because if you see, we want to line them up. We want them to go horizontally, so we got to give each one a width of, I'm gonna say 170. So we'll do a width of 170 pixels, and we want to float them to the right. Let's just see what that does. Alright, so everything's floated. It still looks really crampy, and it's not right yet, but we're definitely getting there. Now what we have here is we have a heading, and then we have an unordered list. So I'm going to take the unordered list, I'm going to take the developer unordered lists, and I'm going to do margin bottom 10 pixels. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is, you see this is a little squished together here. this is an H2 heading, and these are all H4 headings. So this is also an H2 heading. So what I want to do is I want to make a course, I want to make a style for all H2s. For all H2s, I want to just add some padding on the bottom of 10 pixels. So that would put 10 pixels on the bottom of every H2 element on the page. So if we reload, now you'll see this is spaced out better. We have the H4, we have 5 pixels in the H4. I'm actually going to change that to 7 pixels. Reload, gives us a little more room. And the last thing we need to do is this list here. What I want to do is get rid of the bullets, and I want this pushed over. I want it aligned with the H4 up top. So I'm going to say we're going to take the developer class, we're going to take its list items, and I want to list style none, because this will get rid of the bullets. I actually like to put it here as well in the UL. So if we reload, save, reload, the bullets are gone. Now we just got to fix the padding. It looks like 10 pixel padding was added to the UL. I don't know why that happens, but certain browsers will do certain things, and this is one of them. So I'm just going to do just padding 0, and save that, reload. Alright, so it's now aligned to the left, but it's also, we want to put some space in between these. And we don't want to add padding to each list item. We'll want to just fix the line height. The line height property will adjust this so that they're not so squished together. So line height, and I'm going to say 1.5 EM. Save that, reload. Still a little smushed together, so I'm just going to say 2. No, that's too much. 1.7. Like I said, it's a lot of trial and error when you're just learning this stuff. Alright, so that looks good. If we look at the final, you know, there's very, very subtle differences. I might have had an extra pixel padding somewhere along the way, but it's all together, the nav bar, the header, the content, and the left sidebar.